to actually tell the story of Gbedemah. Those of you who want to watch it live on Facebook, go straight away on my Facebook page. Yes, you have it streaming live on my Facebook page. I've had calls all over. People pressure me. If you check my comments on the posts of the shows from the past, you'll see people commenting and asking me to come on Facebook live. Alright, no problem at all. We are live today. So come on live on Facebook if you are online, and have a glimpse of the history segment of the program. You can actually not have the entire program streamed on Facebook for copyright reasons. But for this segment, you have the opportunity to have it streamed live on Facebook by popular demand or request. Alright, if you're ready, straight away, let's go. Let's get talking about this man. Great man by all standards. Great man by all standards. And you will love his story. And if you listen keenly or pay critical attention, you'll pick a lot of messages, a lot of inspiration from the life, career, yes, of the man. And that is actually the purpose of this segment, to inspire the younger generation. Inspire the younger generation. He was originally born Komla Agbeli Gbedemah. Komla Agbeli Gbedemah. He will be later known in life as Afro Gbede. Afro Gbede. You know. He was a revolutionary youth activist and an iconic statesman. He was also a senior architect of both the modern, he's actually a senior architect of both the modern Ghanaian state and republic. He played a critical role in shaping the political landscape of our nation for decades. He is widely recognized as the mastermind who propelled the image of Kwame Nkrumah, the father of Pan-Africanism, to the national attention. So behind the success of everyone, there's a force. But usually we are blown away by the success of the man in front, the front liner, and we seem to forget that there is a force pushing this success. There's a force behind the success of the one we actually see in the front liner. And that is the story of Gbedemah. We all knew the success of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We all know the success of Dr. Kwame. We all saw Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in the limelight. Nkrumah, Kwame Nkrumah show boy. I want to see you, Kwame Nkrumah show boy. But as we're chanting Nkrumah show boy, there was a man behind that. There was a man behind all of that. The architect of all of that was Gbedemah. Gbedemah understood the chess of the old guard, perhaps better than most of his contemporaries. He maneuvered, he surely maneuvering his way through the political arena and maintaining a position of power on the chessboard until the very hour he kicked the bucket. He died. Who are we talking about? We're talking about Gbedemah, K.A. Gbedemah. He was born on the 17th of June, 1933. Born on the 17th of June, 1913. Yes, I beg your pardon. He was born on the 17th June, 1913. He was born in Warri, Niger. He was born in Nigeria, Warri to be precise, where his father, Awumi Gbedemah, plied his trade as a government pharmacist, and was raised between Cape Coast and Keta in the Gold Coast. Now modern day, now Ghana. His early childhood experiences brought invaluable exposure to him. He lived, in a varied community, varied society, varied cities, at the age of 10. He actually grew up, for 10 years, he grew up in a typically colonial cosmopolitan cities, namely Warri, Keta, Cape Coast, and Accra. Just by the age of 10 years. He lived between all of these cities by the age of 10 years. Afro Gbedemah has Afro Gbede, as is affectionately known, called got formal education, began his formal education at the local Roman Catholic school, Keta, before he relocated to Accra in 1923 to live with his uncle. You know, and the extended family system actually, or the extended family structure, played a critical role in the development of a lot of people in this part of the world. Today, we don't value the extended family structure any longer. We pay less attention to the extended family structure. Listen, everyone is paying attention to the immediate family structure, the nuclear family structure, and it is the reason we have problems lately. Students cannot afford to stay with their family members or relatives to attend schools elsewhere any longer. So it is either the boarding house or the hostel. And the hostel spoils a lot of the kids. Those days, you could go stay with your auntie or uncle under monitor, under tutelage, under supervision. You educate yourself, you go to school. Lately, you find a 14-year-old boy, 12-year-old boy, you know, at most 15. And he's in a hostel, living on his own. Because the extended family structure is broken. Uncles don't want to take in, you know, nephews and nieces any longer. Aunties don't want to accept kids of their relatives any longer. Everybody is concentrating on his kids, her kids, nuclear family system, and it's the reason that societal values and morals are deteriorating. Those days, we uphold it, we actually paid respect to it, and it helped in molding or shaping our society, shaping our future leaders. And one of them, the extended family system actually aided or molded is this man I'm talking about, K.E. Gbedemah, Afro Gbede. Part of his education had to move into his uncle's. He has to move into his uncle's residence, stay in his uncle's house, and acquire education. So, like I told you, formal education of the man began at the local Roman Catholic school, Keta, his hometown. Before he relocated in Accra in 1923. 1923, when he moved to Accra, he had his father and mother, parents did not live in Accra then, but he had to move to Accra to go to school. They did not do the hostel, they did not do the boarding facility. He moved into his uncle's house. Under the supervision of his uncle, the man furthered his education in Accra. His uncle was Calde, an educationist who served as master at the Government Teachers Training College. He was an educationist as well, and he served as master at the Government Teachers Training College. Gbedemah's father had him enrolled at the SPG Grammar School, upon the recommendation of the principal, S.R.A. Nicholas. He sat the junior school certificate examination while schooling there, and was awarded the King Edward Scholarship to attend the elite Prince of Wales College, now Achimota School, where he further obtained a Bachelor of Science degree. Gbedemah, together with William Oforiatta and Edward Akufo-Addo, the latter was appointed as the first senior prefect of the Achimota College. I'm talking about Edward Akufo-Addo, the father of the current president of the country. Gbedemah actually schooled in Achimota together with these people: William Oforiatta, Ken Oforiatta's father, and Edward Akufo-Addo, father of our current president. They were all part of the first batch of students who ever graduated from the Achimota College. These were the first batch of students ever to graduate from the Achimota College. Gbedemah was the youngest among the three. The two were all older than him. He was the youngest among the three. Upon completing Achimota, Gbedemah had to set his eyes on a career as a medical practitioner. After completing Achimota, Gbedemah actually had his eyes on the career as a medical practitioner, but failed to obtain a scholarship to support him advance his career. He had wanted to become a medical practitioner, But when he failed to obtain a scholarship to support this particular dream, it did not shut him down. It did not rule him out of life. He did not say, no, man, I did not get the scholarship to actually practice this career I want to practice. So I give up. Life must not go on. Life went on. As a well-connected pioneer old boy from the prestigious Achimota College, the future was not at all dim. He gained employment shortly after as the proofreader and subsequently editor for the Times of West Africa, a newspaper owned by the illustrious J.B. Dankwa, a man of letters. He was known as the man of letters. He gained admission, he gained employment into the Times, the Times of West Africa. This newspaper was actually owned by J.B. Dankwa. And J.B. Dankwa at that time was known as the man of letters. Gbedemah developed his craft as an all-rounded communicator during his time as an apprentice of J.B. Dankwa and became abreast with current affairs and popular culture. The training procedure to catapult the man, to push the man into his future, was that he landed himself in a broadcasting, in a media space, had to be an apprentice of J.B. Dankwa. And this actually aided him to become abreast with current affairs and popular culture. An unusual industrious young man. He was an unusual industrious young man. A workaholic. He will work his ass out just to get something done. He had an appetite for venture capitalism as well. He had a lot of appetite for venture capitalism. Gbedemah soon set up a number of successful enterprises and earned a decent living for himself before getting involved in Gold Coast politics. His former boss, J.B. Dankwa, has served as secretary of the Ghana Youth Conference from 1937 to 1947. Gbedemah established a timber and construction business. We supplied material when edifices such as the Accra Airport, 37 Military Hospital, and the Accra Sports Stadium were being built. He also worked with multinational corporations such as HB Green, a European building firm headquartered here in the capital of the Gold Coast at that time. He worked with them too. When Nkrumah arrived in the Gold Coast on the 16th December 1947, upon the invitation of J.B. Dankwa to become the General Secretary of the UGCC, Gbedemah was the one who warmly received him on behalf of the organization. He was the very first person to go meet him up at the airport, warmly welcomed him, received him on behalf of the organization, the UGCC. They were both awakened to the fact that the political history of Ghana had changed forever upon encountering each other and committed themselves to building a modern democratic republic. Gbedemah and Nkrumah stood for universal adult suffrage and valued self-determination. They valued self-determination a lot. They did not agree with the political position that the UGCC had taken with regards to the system of democracy, where a select few aristocrats and a handful of the intelligentsia, they love to call themselves intelligentsia, a group of intellectuals. They did not actually buy into the idea. They did not agree with the political position that the UGCC has taken with regards to the system of democracy, where a select few aristocrats and a handful of the intelligentsia would be appointed to the Legislative Assembly as the chosen political representatives of the Gold Coast through some form of elitist electoral college that excluded the general masses of the people. They did not agree to this particular positional structure. They wanted to have everybody included, even though they themselves were elites. that particular structure would have favored them. But they weren't selfish. They said, no, man, in as much as it will favor us, we are not illiterate, we are elite. We belong to that class too. But we will not support them to deny the general masses of participation. So no, man, we will fight the system to get everybody included or inclusive, whether elite or not. They fought it, Nkrumah and Gbedemah. Would form a triangular brotherhood that lasted for decades without decay, until it was strained by unforeseen and regrettable circumstances. So did people regret the circumstances that broke these two people down. On the 12th of June 1949, when the mass-based Convention People's Party was established, Gbedemah was appointed as its first vice chairman. As an exceptionally media-savvy and politically conscious man, he had also become the ideal candidate to run the propaganda machinery of the CPP. The Accra Evening News, a daily newspaper founded by Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in 1948, to mobilize the masses for the task of nation building. Gbedemah's fiery posts in the print press landed him in jail at the James Fort prison from October 17, 1949 to March 2nd, 1950 for publishing false news likely to cause harm. A naturally gifted propagandist with a flair for politics, he introduced the Prison's Graduate Cup, PG Cup, so that politically active citizens who had been imprisoned for positive action would be celebrated with this special cup. It represented honor and prestige within the ranks of the party. Kwame Nkrumah, who also ended up in jail, sent a number of communiques to Gbedemah, which were written on toilet papers. I am talking about Tiro, toilet papers. That was what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was using in prison to communicate to his ally Gbedemah when he was outside, orchestrating his release, orchestrating his success. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah will run into the washroom. Instead of using the toilet paper to wipe what he has done, he will use the toilet. He will actually keep it dry down there or wash it, and then use the toilet paper to write letters, communiques to Gbedemah out there. He will then get the letters written on the toilet paper smuggled out from the prison to get to reach Gbedemah. Nkrumah has had secret plans to contest the Accra Central Electoral District seat and placed his full dependence on Gbedemah to manifest his political ambitions. So even though he had dreams to actually represent or actually capture that seat or get that seat, he was in prison. He couldn't have campaigned in prison. He couldn't have reached out to the people in prison. But he used Gbedemah out there. He wrote letters to him on toilet papers, smuggled them out to him, got him to actually orchestrate and mastermind his plans, get his plans going through. In a strategic move to protect Kwame Nkrumah's seat as a diversionary tactic, so that the colonial administration could not anticipate Nkrumah's next move, a worse off, disqualify Nkrumah from the elections, Gbedemah decided to front as the candidate for the seat. Gbedemah decided to front as the candidate for that seat. So he decided to actually go down there and aspire for that seat. He only substituted his name for Nkrumah's name at the very last hour to take them by surprise. He substituted his name for Nkrumah's name at the last minute, the last hour. As a result, Nkrumah's intention to contest the seat in 1951 Legislative Assembly took everyone by surprise because he was behind bars in prison. Nobody knew that he could even come to contest. It took them by surprise. The plot was successful and Nkrumah won his seat. Gbedemah had opted for a seat in Keta too. He had also opted for a seat in Keta, in the Keta constituency, and was elected to the Legislative Assembly himself too. So he got into the Legislative Assembly himself too, to represent his hometown, Keta. On 8 February 1951, K.A. Gbedemah was appointed by Nkrumah, who by then became the first African Prime Minister, as Minister for Health and Labor. Gbedemah also served in 2 different cabinet portfolios between 1952 and 1954. In 1952, Gbedemah opened the first clinic in Accra near the Palladium Cinema Hall. He also set up the St. John Modes Commission in 1952 to lay the foundations for an improved and progressive health service. He was very instrumental at the health sector, making sure that people of the Gold Coast at that time get quality health care. This was how politics was done then. When they make the money, they channel the money into public service to get the people served. That was how politics was done those days. In 1954, at the age of 41, K.A. Gbedemah shattered the age-old status quo and became the first African in post-colonial Africa to hold the position of a finance minister at the age of 41 years. In his first budget speech, when he got the opportunity to address the nation through the council, the house or the parliament, in his very first budget speech in July 1954, Gbedemah paid tribute to his predecessor Kenneth Toss. He paid tribute to his predecessor. Today we don't pay tributes to our predecessors any longer. We run them down. They are evil. They are all evil. We are the best. We are only the good ones. We run them down. But when Gbedemah got the opportunity to actually address the assembly or the parliament, in other words, in the form of putting forth the budget speech, in July 1954, Gbedemah paid tribute to his predecessor Kenneth Toss. He also signed a contract that introduced Ghana's first currency. Ghana's first ever currency, the Ghana pound sterling. He was the one who signed that contract that got that currency introduced and set out to create an atmosphere where indigenous businesses could thrive. Gbedemah pushed for the representation of Africans in the International Monetary Fund, which eventually led the formation of an African department at the International Monetary Fund, administered by Africans only. And from 1952 to 1961, he made 23 trips to Europe and America to discuss the Volta River Project. So today, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah takes all the credits for the Akosombo Dam. But this man actually made 23 trips to Europe and America just to discuss the Volta River Project, the project that saw the Akosombo Dam construction. And he was moving back and forth 23 times, 23 trips to Europe and America to discuss the Volta River Project. Gbedemah, together with Kojo Bochio, flew to London in 1957 to deliberate with the British Foreign Minister regarding full self-government. Prince D.K.T. Jokoto, a royal pioneer Ghanaian diplomat and judge, had also been appointed by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah as second secretary of Foreign Affairs at the High Commission, and was closely involved in the final negotiations, together with Gbedemah and the other Kojo, before Ghana was granted its independence on March 6, 1957. So these 3 people played a key role as well. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah used them immensely to actually create the room for the achievement of that dream. Gbedemah soon fell out with Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and was asked to leave his cabinet in 1961. He returned to Ghana on June 16, 1966. 114 days after the overthrow of Nkrumah. He later founded the National Alliance of Liberals in 1969, which contested elections, winning 29 out of the 140 seats in parliament. The Progress Party, PP, led by K.A. Buzia, won 69 seats. K.A. Gbedemah won a seat to parliament on the ticket of the National Alliance for Liberals to represent the Keta constituency, his hometown. However, the Progress Party, using the controversial Article 71 of the 1969 Constitution, which disqualified persons against whom had adverse findings had been made by a commission of inquiry from holding public office, had him disqualified from parliament. He, therefore, could not take up his official position as the leader of the opposition. Even though duly elected, he could not take up his official position as the leader of the opposition. In 1972, when the PP government of Prime Minister Buzia was overthrown, Gbedemah was appointed as ambassador, a position he held from April-June 1972. But as a staunch Democrat, he also disagreed with the style of governance that the National Redemption Council and later SMC had adopted, and started demanding a return to civilian rule, calling for an end to military dictatorship. Gbedemah also formed Popular Movement for Freedom and Justice, PMFG, with William Oforiatta, Lieutenant Colonel A.A. Afirifa, Victor Owusu, Professor A.A. Boahini, SKP, Jantwa, and others. K.A. Gbedemah died on Saturday, July 11th, 1998, at the ripe age of 85. He served Ghana well. He served Ghana with all his heart, might, body, and soul. Most of the successes of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah are because of him, at the background. Because of him, he was the shadow support of the man. Today we honor him. We're celebrating 4 minutes after 8, and we draw the curtains down on this particular segment of the program, the history segment of the program. It was a day of honor for K.A. Gbedemah. He was a good friend of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. When you pray for a friend, I beg your pardon. When you pray for a friend, pray for friends like Gbedemah. This is friend Ziggy Marley, son of Bob Marley.